We're frustrated, we're angry, and they can't just go about business as usual.
Go out and get a job.
We need good jobs, not cuts.
We want to send a message to the 1% that the 99% aren't going to take it anymore.
We want to stimulate the economy. We want these people out of our parks and our city. The fight is in the wrong place.
It's the day after Occupy Wall Street's Day of Action. Did anything happen, and was it a success?
I don't think it was a terribly big success. I mean, the numbers weren't that big in the morning. I don't think they got bigger in the evening when there are a lot of labor union people involved for the march across the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm all for protesting. I'm all for the message of economic inequality, which is a serious issue. I do think they need to move beyond the campouts and, a lot of the sort of roughhousing with police. Not that the police are completely not to blame for some of that stuff, but there needs to be the next step. There needs to be, what's our agenda? Are we going to organize for the election? Are we going to get out the vote? Are we going to try to elect candidates? What are we going to do? I think people are getting tired of just the camping out and the constant whining.
Well, Mayor Bloomberg did
Mayor
that.
Bloomberg, and the Daily Show is making fun of you. When the Daily Show starts making fun of you, you have a problem.
The tide has turned.
I don't know. I would quote that famous aphorism that first they ignore you, then they make fun of you, then they fight you, then you win.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they win if they have. What's the next move, though?
I totally agree with you. They've got to do two things. They've got to start talking effectively to the media, which was one reason I was down at Zuccotti Park. I'm not an Occupy movement member. I'm just a citizen who believes in the First Amendment. But I think that every citizen should be able to speak effectively with the media, protest, assemble, First Assembly rights, and organize effectively in a voting block. So I was down in the rain teaching them media skills in Zuccotti Park a couple of days ago, and I learned a lot. And the reason I think that it is wrong to write them off, and certainly wrong to cast them as rabble rousers, is that they're starting to take very seriously the message that, even though it's a process, that they need to not only sharpen their message to the media and get out there and deal with the media effectively, constructively, but also to organize as a voting bloc, register voters, and be Occupy voters. Bloomberg's got to see them, and mayors across the country, as their constituency who know how to play hardball politics and say, you know what? Give us back our First Amendment free assembly rights. Talk to us, or else you're going to lose the next election.
Let me stop you.
You want to stop me right there?
I do. I'm all for protest, too, and First Amendment rights. Again, this is such a straw man. There's a really important Supreme Court ruling in 1984, Clark versus Community. Protesters in the National Mall wanted to pitch tents to protest homelessness. And the Supreme Court ruled you have many means of protesting that do not involve pitching a tent for a week in the National Mall. You are not infringing on your free speech rights. Furthermore, doing that puts such a strain on our resources, our manpower and our money to take care of you, to maintain you. And that is exactly where Occupy is now. They've reached this tipping point where yesterday commuters and small business owners couldn't get to work because occupiers were blocking subway entrances and the Brooklyn Bridge.
I didn't see any of that. There's no reporting about that. I
Are you kidding? Read the New York Post. There's story after story
That'll
after
be
story.
fact-based.
But we can't read the New York Post. We can't read these.
It's not always as well sourced as it
Sorry for the inconvenience, but you guys inconvenience the entire world economy.
Thank you.
So look, they're a protest movement. They're always going to be a protest movement. I think their message is really clear, actually, and it's not going to go away.
What is it?
I have it. I have it right here. I will tell you. Okay, I will tell you.
Let's shut down small businesses. Let's keep normal people from getting to work.
The national television and say here is some of the top issues. People start kind of talking over me. Number one, what I got when I put this question out to the occupiers across the country: legislate away Citizens United and get the money out of politics. Very sensible. Number two, very mainstream: regulate Wall Street. No more fraud behind the scenes. Number three, roll back the Patriot Act so that things like our rights and our free assembly are fair. Now, no one speaks for the group. I don't speak for the group. They don't speak for each other. But I asked them to name three things that were at the top of their list. Other things came up. Jobs bills. They want to work. No slashing, the support for the most vulnerable, for the elderly, for children. All kinds of things came up. But these surface again. Again, they're about cleaning up the system.
Exactly.
Why is it the first time?
I've never heard about the Patriot
I can
Act
tell
from
you that too, unfortunately. They don't have media training. And so that's not their fault.
Poor occupiers without their media training.
Well, also, if you go to their website, there is a contact information for the press. And if you want to get them on here, you can call them and they'll send someone. Well, but it's not that difficult. It's not rocket science.
Naomi, to be fair, I think some of these demands are much more tied to Congress than they are necessarily Wall Street. And I think one of the concerns is
regulate Wall Street. You
that's
think that
number
all the
two.
Didn't we just do that?
You're talking
about sending NYPD after a $3.6 million investment from Chase to NYPD to beat these people up. Want that regulation to be successful?
What?
No. What I'm saying is, if you're talking about regulatory infrastructure, if you're talking about jobs bills, I mean, those are things
they have to organize to pressure Congress people. Of course they do.
Exactly. And I guess the question is this movement going to be able to take? I mean, the physicality, I think, is very much defined the movement. Right. They need to take the next step and become.
I totally agree.
They have to have principles. They have to have some sort of policy recommendations, and they have to have designated spokespeople.
I agree with you.
And the argument shouldn't be whether they can sleep in a park at
Right,
night.
exactly.
I mean, that's just
I almost feel like that's not the argument anymore. Like discussing the inconvenience of commuting.
They can come
I'm a
together
Brooklyn
whenever they
resident.
want.
So, I totally agree with you on all of this. I've been, like making this case every single day, the way that I can, and networking with these people, again, as a citizen, not as a member of them, but because I believe that citizens should be empowered to speak and raise their agenda effectively.
We all agree with that.
So all I'm saying is, I will tell you.
They're putting us all at risk by taking up all of our police forces.
I know it's putting us at risk.
They're not.
What's putting us at risk
2 months now.
Taking away our right to free assembly guarantee.
No one's taking away that right, Naomi. That's a straw man. No one's telling them they can't protest.
I think what we're
Have you seen some of the images of violence against peaceful? I was standing on a sidewalk.
Have you seen some of the
images
of defecation in the park and sexual assault?
I was arrested peacefully obeying the law that I had established.
The police forces
was
will have
the law
to come
on the
into
sidewalk.
the set, and that would be a drain on the 30 Rockefeller Center security complex.
Exactly.